I left because I really had a yen to do movies by then, and not movies for television. The other thing was, I had done a play a week, a television show a week, for 7 years, with the exception of the 6 months or so that I spent doing The Best of Broadway, which is a show a month. And I really felt that I had wanted to stop. It was very much misinterpreted, always. You're going away strong. We were still very successful then, and going along very well. Why would you want to do that? So it had to look like a ploy, some agent's ploy for money, and it was not. I mean, I truly did not want to stay any longer. I was tired of doing it, and I wanted to do something else. What I did later was then so ludicrous that you can't believe it, but I went away for 3 months. I went away for the whole summer. I took my family. And there was no time that I didn't have the money of 4 countries in my pocket, either one we left, one we're in, one we were going to, and one we decided not to go to. And it was the today equivalent of the Grand Tour for the family. I had been. And before I went, I signed a movie contract with Buddy Adler of 20th Century Fox. He was head of it then. And Madman Spiro Skouras was the head of the studio. And I had it all in the bag, and I was going to stay away till September and then come back and get to work. And I had brought with me the movie script of The Days of Wine and Roses. At least I knew I would have it by the time I got back, that J.P. Miller wrote. And that was going to be my first movie. That's what I wanted to do. While I was away, Skouras got hold of my agent, Abe Lasvogel. Still, by this time, he was still in. I don't know about that middle one. You asked me about why I didn't. And my lawyer, whatever his name was, and he just got them to really sell a bill of goods. He sold a bill of goods to them about that instead of this movie contract with Fox, why don't I become head of television for Fox? Now, in that case, the ante kept going up because that was not something I wanted to do terribly. But it kept going up, and good friends really got me in the corner, not only my wife, but other fellows in there, who said, why do you go backwards in there? This is really going ahead of, what does it mean to be head of television at Fox? It's film television. I mean, that still was a no-no, I mean, because it hadn't yet come into the thing today. There's no live, so everything that's good is, if it is good, is still done on film. So, and I don't know, they just finally talked me into it. So I got so tired of those transatlantic calls and that you couldn't sleep at night. They would get you at the wrong hours. You'd been up all day and night. And I was in Salzburg, I remember, going to a concert, and this thing just kept booming, and the lawyer just said, "You foolish to just don't turn this down. This is a very big thing. They'll give you profit sharing, all the things. They'll build you a bungalow." I mean, all these things are so extraneous, but they were being thrown onto the heap.
So you were wooed very extensively.
Absolutely. And then, of course, wherever we went, somebody was rushing up with big things of roses to my wife, who didn't like that at all. She saw through that guy. When we came back, I had already said I was going to do it. We had a terrible fight, marital fight. And I said, I will do it. I'll do it. And when we came back, Skouras came to my house to talk to my wife, not to me, to get her on his side, because we hadn't made a contract yet. And they had she minced no words with him at all. And she was furious. And anyway, it ended in, I guess, not a happy time between them. And he said to me the next morning at the studio, because we were in the same studio whether I did movies or television things. He said, "You are married to the most unpleasant woman I have ever met in my life." And, and when I told her that, told her that, she said, "Well, I'm glad he thought so, because that means I did my job," something like that. But I did do it, and the minute I started, I knew I was wrong. I for some unknown reason, thought I was going to bring everybody with me. George Roy Hill, Arthur Penn, Frankenheimer, just all the wonderful directors I had, Schaffner, all the number one directors, and they would be doing things with me at Fox. Well, of course, none of them were going to do film television. I mean, they would do a picture at Fox, but not. And so it just backfired immediately. And there I was in my bungalow, and I thought, this is just ridiculous what I've done. So I went right away to say to Scores, I just want to stop this right now because it's foolish. I'm not saying, "No, you got to change your." Well, I sulked for a couple of weeks and everything. And then I thought, he's not going to let me out. And finally, Lars Vogel said to me, "I promise you this, stay 1 year. If you really still feel this way, you'll be out." Oh, I said, okay, finally. So I tried to do that. Well, I went to work, you go to work. That's what you're going to do, you got to do. So I decided I've got to find some stuff to do, television, on film, that's not going to make me be so unhappy. I was going to say throw up. And I had been reading some scripts of a old work of Max Schulman called Dobie Gillis. The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis was called. And Max...
He was a humor writer, Max
Yes,
Schulman.
humor. And very funny man he was. And he had written these things as a pilot for a television series, half-hour pilot. And it was bought by various people and then not done. And George Burns bought it for his son, Ronnie, who wanted to be an actor at that point. And even with that work and George behind it, and George was a bit in it, it still nothing happened about it. And I thought, gee, this is fun. I don't understand this. I read this stuff when it wasn't in television form, it was just in story form, some years back, and I thought it was funny stuff, and now I don't think it's funny when I read it. I suddenly realized what the key was, and I called Max, who was in New York, he didn't live here, and I said, "I think I have the answer to this damn thing of yours, but I want to talk to you about it." He said, "Can we talk about it on the telephone?" And I said, "No, I think we better meet. I'll come to New York in a month or so when I can, but if you can come out sooner here, we'll say." Well, I told him, and he laughed, and he said, "For this sentence you told me to come out here, you wouldn't say it on the phone?" And I said, "I had to impress you on how important this sentence is. If I just threw it in on the phone, you would say some idea, and that would be it." And the idea was simple, and I could have easily told it to him on the phone, but I didn't. We sold the show, and it ran for 3 or 4 years, and at CBS.
It ran for 4 seasons.
It did? 4 seasons? Oh, I must have underrated. 4 seasons. And it was a very funny show, and good. The thing was, time had passed from the time Max Schulman, who was a funny guy, wrote the stories to the time he was diddling about television for it. There'd been a war, mainly, and college kids today were not in raccoon coats and assing around town being idiots and all the thing. They were having babies, and they were trying to get a job, and they had to pay payments to make and all of this. And he said, "Well, what are you driving?" And I said, "They have to be high school students, teenagers now. And you can use your same, everything except update the dialogue, because it's not a period piece. But only kids at 15 16 maybe can be this way, but not college people. They'd be idiotic. Well, he wrote it, changed everything. We sold it immediately, and the rest was fine. And then so that was CBS. I had now kind of a little plan to get a show on at each network, so that when end of the year came, I could say to Skouras, I've done my job this year. You got a show on each network, but you haven't had. And now I want to leave.